Most people who watch these videos associate me with Hal Lindsey, one of the best-selling authors of all time, and a man whose television and web ministries I've helped with periodically since 2008 and on a regular basis since 2013. Hal is one of the most influential Christian leaders of the last couple of centuries. Before working with Hal, I had the privilege of working with a very different man, but also one of the most influential Christian leaders of the last 200 years, Harald Bredesen. I worked as Harald's assistant from 1985 until his death. Harald's Christmas letters were a Yuletide tradition, not just for him, but for just about everyone on his Christmas list. One year, Pat Boone wrote to thank Harald for those annual letters. He called them keepers. Harald was delighted. He loved his friend Pat, not because Pat was a celebrity, but because that's how Harald was. He loved his friends, and you became his friend the moment he met you. In late December of 2006, we prepared the annual letter, waiting closer to Christmas than we should have, though that was not unusual. Our mutual friend Jeff Grismer dropped by my house for a box of material he needed. In the box, he found a copy of the Christmas letter. He thought I had dropped it in there for him, so he read it. He liked the main message it expressed, but he saw another message in the letter, an unintended message. He called me to ask if Harald felt like he was about to die. I called Harald and told him the effect the letter had on Jeff. He said, "I'm not feeling any premonition of a soon demise, and neither is Jen," referring to his wife Genevieve. He added, "As far as I know, our friends will be stuck with us for a while longer. So fix it." I fixed it by adding his words, almost verbatim. The letter was finalized on December 21st. It took a few days to get them all out because Harald wanted to personalize as many as he could. But finally, the letter was finished and on its way. After that came Christmas itself. Harald and two of his children independently told me that it had been the best family Christmas any of them could remember. The day after Christmas, December 26, 2006, Harald was walking up the stairs in his home carrying a flower for his beloved Jen when he fell, fracturing his skull. He died 3 days later on December 29th. He had had no premonition of his death, but the letter had foreshadowed it. The beginning of the letter tells about something that happened to a friend of Harald's. That friend was me. The 4-year-old it mentions was my daughter, Angela. Here's the letter. Dear friend, it was Christmas Eve, 1985. My friend wanted to tell his 2 young children about Christmas in a way that would help them understand its importance. He began, "Because of Christmas, we don't have to fear death." Before he could explain further, tears sprang to the eyes of his youngest. At age 4, she had already been thinking about death, her own and that of those she loved. Do you remember when you first came to fear death? In our mind's eye, we see the grim reaper, his scythe in his hands, waiting at the end of the road. A recent headline proclaimed the death rate in New York down dramatically, but in our hearts we know, despite the breakthroughs of modern medicine, until Jesus returns, the death rate will remain 100%. We celebrate a long-ago birth in a far-off land, but it is not remote. It's as close and strong, as intimate and relevant as each human being's desire for life, joy, and love. The manger in Bethlehem held the most precious package ever delivered into time and space. Precious, not just in a huge cosmic sense, but personally. He fills us with love and relieves our fears. Instead of a grim reaper, we who have accepted his salvation find at the end of the road our dear friend, Jesus. full of joy and love, waiting to personally escort each one of us to the other side. In my Father's house, he said, are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. Do you trust the character and integrity of Jesus? Then you can trust in the certainty of heaven. If it were not so, I would have told you. We've had no premonition of a soon demise, so you, dear loved ones, are stuck with Jen and me for a while longer. We mention death in our Christmas letter only as a reminder of what the season is about. Life. What a marvelous reason to sing, give gifts, and be merry this Christmas. In John 11, Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Because the letter went out so late, lots of people received it on or after the day Harald died. A few weeks later, we held Harald's public memorial service at Church on the Way in Van Nuys, California. Pat Boone sang, and the speakers included Pat Robertson and Gordon Robertson. Here's what Gordon had to say.
My last Harald story is actually after he died. Catherine and I were with Evelyn in New York. We were having surgery on her foot, and so I didn't get any of the messages about him being in the hospital. I was sort of out of touch. And then the Friday he died was the Friday we were scheduled to check out of that hospital and fly home. And Michael Little called me with the news, and here I am in a hospital in New York. And it's, what do I do with this? And we get home that night, and the next morning I'm going through the accumulation of mail from before Christmas, and there's a letter from Harald. And I open it kind of fearfully, and I read these incredible words. Because of Christmas, we do not have to fear death. And he says in this letter, I do not have a premonition of death. You guys are going to have to deal with me for a long time. But because of Christmas, we don't have to fear death. And so here's Harald, after he died, still ministering to me in my home, telling me I don't have to fear death. And for that, thank you, Harald.
Hebrews 2:15 speaks of Christ delivering us from the fear of death. Because of Christmas, we no longer need to be held in bondage to that fear. Christmas is about the sure and certain hope of eternal life. Thank you for watching. It will help us if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also like and follow Prophecy News Update on Facebook. Remember that on YouTube and Facebook, it's easy to hit the share button if you think this might be a blessing to someone else. God willing, I'll see you soon.